Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Smitty, and today I'm going to bring you a guide on Elemental Shaman, a guide to the Mage Tower and Legion Timewalking. First of all, let's go ahead and jump into the gearing. So, as I've mentioned on other videos as well, I think it's really important to prioritize gear that has 3 stats potentially from expansions past, like Heart of Azeroth is a good example. It's actually really good for Shaman. I think crit haste is the best way to go, and I think haste is actually a bit better, and I'll get into that a little bit later. That's mainly because like you got like the ads and stuff on Agatha, you got a very short period of time to kill them, so haste feels a bit better, but crit is definitely a better stat overall. But I actually found like my Heart of Azeroth, and I found this crit haste legendary that was 59 item level. Everything scales down to item level 50, so it doesn't really matter. So just take your best stats that are over that item level. So next, let's jump into talents. So this is a guide, and I'll link it in the description box below. And honestly, these talents are pretty good. I tried several different things, and let's get into that. So, Echo of Elements I found to be the best. I also always ran Aftershock, and Earth Shield I found really good. Some people run Static Charge. I like Earth Shield because it's just one global, and you got so much more safety. I think Master Elements is the best as well. This is another area I honestly prefer Ancestral Guidance over Nature's Garden. Nature's Garden is really good for that kind of oh shit moment, like if you get hit by a boulder in phase 2. But Ancestral Guidance, you can pretty much line this up with when you get a lot of ads, do a bunch of damage and pretty much full heal yourself. Now this is the 45 rows where I spent most of my time trying to distinguish what was the actual best. So you'll see even on this guide, it's telling you can run Primal Elementalist or Ice Fury. On my kill, I run Ice Fury, and I actually think Ice Fury is way better than Primal Elementalist for this challenge. And I'll get into that when we go to the kill clip. Also, Stormkeeper is just baseline. It's just really good, and it lines up really well with the fight. There are some ads that need to be blown up every 1 minute, and in which point you'll use this every time. So let's go ahead and dive right into the kill video here. So you have a little bit of time before Agatha actually spins up, but I think it's very important, not this text but the next text, I always went ahead and used my Stormkeeper. You want to have your Stormkeeper use it as soon as it's up every time, because there's a set of ads that come every 1 minute that need to get blown up. You see I go ahead and do it here, she's going to become active. Now these are the ads I'm talking about, so later in the fight, she'll cast those ads and they make her immune to damage, so you gotta blow them up. So this is pretty standard stuff, like you just go ahead and use your Ice Fury, just do your normal cooldown. So these Imp Servants that spawn in the back need to be... Hold on, let me go ahead and... This music is loud. Sorry about that. So the imps that spawn in the back need to get slowed. So your Earth Grab Totem or Slow Totem, I can't remember the exact name of it at the time of this recording, but is really good for handling that, for slowing down. It's another great area where I found Ice Fury to work really well, because it did just enough damage to, like you're slowing them and doing them pretty good damage. So this here, when she does the Dark Fury, you have to DPS or absorb and interrupt. The Fuming Imp, as you see here, once they reach you and auto you, they go ahead and they start to do a cast where they'll blow up and leave shit on the ground that slows you, which is really bad. A lot of guys I've seen say not to worry about these. However, I disagree. Like, the cleaner the floor, the easier the fight. So I went ahead and prioritized them down. I guess if your damage is really high, you can pretty much just not worry about those. But I didn't have that luxury. My Shaman is just an alt, so I didn't have a lot of gear to choose from. So you'll see I'll go ahead and Ice Fury, and I'm Frost Shocking the Fuming Imp down. Easy peasy. Also, I typically use big wigs, but during this time walking event, I found that DBM has a lot of these old timers. Also, a great point, I just thunderstormed those guys away, the imp servants. Those imp servants come out every 45 seconds, and the cooldown of thunderstorm is 45 seconds. So you can pretty much use those every time. So it works out really well. So this is just kind of me chilling, damaging. Like if you do really well on the edge, you do get like a decent amount of uptime on the boss. Like that's pretty much just the name of this encounter is fuck up the ads and just do what you can to the boss. Also found that the healing tide totem was pretty nice for this. Just drop it and get some passive healing. There's a ton of movement in this encounter, so Spirit Walker's Grace is also pretty nice to use at different points in the fight. And this is a point where there's a lot going on, but those guys, if they do get there and start casting, a lot of people say, oh, just a little bit of casting, not a big deal, don't worry about letting them do it. But it heals the boss, and considering I wasn't doing a ton of damage anyway, felt pretty awful. So I tried to always prioritize a way to interrupt them. Like I said, Thunderstorm's really good. You can AoE stun them, and I also was running a High Mountain Tauren, so I could do my racial and run through them and interrupt them as well. You see there, I just interrupted it, which works it pretty well. So there's a lot of this, like this just becomes difficult once you start translocating around, and I would argue that this area down here is even more difficult because then you got to kind of look behind you. And I found most of my deaths, like later in my progression, came during this, basically where I was focusing too much on what was in front of me instead of the balls, and I would get stunned up and killed. Those purples on the ground, they're cast quite a bit through the fight. You can soak those if needed. I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't say just soak a bunch of them, but you can definitely do it if you need to. You see I'm getting some pretty lucky procs here. Also, if a ball's going to screw you, when you step into this like slime area or lava, whatever it is, it'll do damage to you, but it won't kill you. So sometimes it's worth it. Like the ball's going to do way more damage than if you were to just take a step and take a little bit of damage from stepping off. Also, the ball stuns you, which is not what you want to be doing. So I think this fight is mainly all about prioritizing which ads to kill, and if you can do that well, you'll be chilling. Like I use my Spirit Walker's Grace here because I want to be able to move. There's a lot of stuff going on. As you can see, I don't think I have a single pull from the Fuming Imp, so this makes it a hell of a lot easier to move around in these phases. I will say another thing that I made a mistake of on some of my other attempts. I think I've lost to this encounter twice, sub 3%. I tried to focus the boss down without doing the mechanics, and I just didn't have the damage to get it down in time. So I'd say use your best judgment, but as long as you just do the mechanics, you'll always win. So it's probably the safer bet, and that's how I ended up actually beating it. Like you see here, like I'm really close, right? I get the Dark Fury, now I got all these little dudes, he's immune. So it's just a matter of like, keep doing the mechanics. Like I even get pretty low there. Stream's gonna freeze. Game's gonna freeze for me. When you're a badass, that's what happens. Game can't handle you. But that's pretty much it. You get the really cool like green reskin of the Tomb of Sargeras Mythic set, and I'd be interested to know if you're struggling and at what point during the encounter, if you are having any problems, leave in the comment section below, and I'll get to that and see if I can help you out. So you can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/allsmitty, and I'll have that in the description. And if you like this video and you find it helpful, go ahead and like and subscribe. And until next time, I really appreciate it. Take care.